Morning all. So this is Urban Go Gay week 20 day 4. Sorry there was no video yesterday. Stuff was happening. Although if you're on the Rangers Discord, you'll see that lots of stuff was happening. And I had to go to work earlier than normal because of a local event. So yes, back out in the woods today. It looked, the weather report has lied. It looks like it said it was going to be lovely and sunny, and it isn't. So yes. Yeah, so we're out in the woods. Yeah, got a lot of bits and pieces to talk about this morning. So, there we go. So yeah. There's a reason I'm smoking on camera. One, because I really want a cigarette. We're out in the woods and I've been doing a lot of thinking, which makes me want a cigarette. And two, I'm hoping I'll be able to look back on this as a time when I did smoke and it's on, you know, I can see how ridiculous I looked, essentially setting fire to money. So that'd be good. So yeah, first thing, always put first things first. Thank you, Mr. Covey. And have an idea where you're going to end up. So yeah, so the first thing is not all that surprising. The whole Brexit thing is going crazy. The shutdown of Parliament in order that the concept of Brexit can't be negotiated, and that they won't be able to officially find out that no negotiations have been taking place and Boris Johnson is heading for a hard Brexit. That's just been ruled illegal by the Scottish court and will now probably need to be referred back to the High Court with the Scottish court's findings, because you can't exactly ignore the Scottish court. Because it will cost you the entire Scottish people's vote when you said 5 million Scots people don't matter if you're the government. You can't do it because it destroys the union, and it makes it absolutely certain that the Scottish will vote to quit the UK should they have another referendum, especially at the moment. So in inverted commas, the government, or as they should really be known as the people who are currently in charge, and I stress that with the meaning that it may well be just temporary, are in a tight spot. But what I find really weird is that nobody, you know, they've leaked Operation Yellowhammer, but nobody at all, I suppose because it's conjecture, but you know, in my personal experience, conjecture has never factored into the government thinking before now. They're quite happy to do conjecture. So yeah, they're not talking about the tax reform, which is, if you're a very wealthy person in the UK, extremely sweeping. Now, this might not seem all that serious, but it could be as much as 25 to 30% of what the UK could be getting is disappearing into tax havens and loopholes and stuff like that. And what the EU is proposing is that all corporations' anti-tax schemes should be completely transparent. And that means investment corporations as well. So a lot of privately wealthy people would have their money scrutinised by HMRC, and it would be legal to demand to know where all that money went and how much somebody earned in a given year, and check with their employers and stuff like that as to how much money had been paid. And those corporations and accounting corporations and stuff like that would be responsible for paying the tax out of what somebody earns, like their accountants, would be forced to hand over where that money had gone, so the government could then begin to start closing all those loopholes. You know, companies like Google and Amazon and Apple have been hiding money inside parts of the UK for years. So and in Ireland. So that means the EU will insist that the country that the money is generated in and that the income is generated from cannot be shifted overseas to help out, or to supposedly help out, or be used for deficits of parts of the corporation that are abroad or outside the EU. You know, if you make the money in the EU, you pay tax on it. So this is quite frankly terrifying to the super wealthy, because the UK's tax situation is kind of like the Wild West, and everybody knows it, and the EU know it. And strangely, the EU haven't been talking about it much. I suppose because they're wanting to, you know, fight the UK leaving the EU on different terms. But I think the reason that they're bringing up objections and stuff like that is because they want to see fair taxes paid, which is another one of those cases of the EU acting in the best interests of the British people, even though half the British people don't want them to. So you've got this situation where in 2015 this is the proposed situation, and in 2016 we had the EU referendum, a non-binding referendum actually. It was just a consultation referendum, and the government was under no legal requirement to follow through, nor did it set a percentage of the British public who should have voted. So he just narrowly voted to leave the EU after a very, very intense planned campaign, using basically the latest analytical software, statistical analysis, and basically deep learning on computers. And they had to do all that just to nudge people to being vaguely more in favour of leaving the EU than staying. And this is after, I don't know, nearly 50 years of campaigning by certain wealthy people to get to basically disparage our membership in the EU. You know, the EU's meant that there hasn't been any land wars in Europe, that there's trade agreements, that countries can be helped out if they need to be, including the UK. The EU's poured, you know, billions and billions of pounds into, you know, basically helping out deprived areas of the UK when the government decided not to, which is, you know, you would think at least some gratitude would be coming back from that, but no. They inflated the amount that we send to the EU, and they didn't talk about the amount of money we get back. I mean, it was supposedly £350 million a week, when it's probably about half that. And that's to keep the machineries of government. It's actually cheaper to stay in the EU than it is not. So there's that. And the Leave campaign was super disingenuous about that. They were super disingenuous about the legal things. And the EU tends to look after workers' rights very well, thanks to largely socialist countries like Germany. So yeah. So it's pretty amazing. So from my perspective, the EU does quite a bit of really important stuff that our governments can't be trusted to do. And then we just, out of probably the only country in Europe, it's a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest. It's quite important in Europe, and it's taken fairly seriously in Europe, and then it's not taken seriously at all in the UK, mostly because of our media and the tabloids, you know, disparaging Europe pretty much all the time, despite the fact that we get an awful lot of stuff from Europe. You know, even if we're just not having a war, £1 billion a year not to have a war, you know, is, yeah, or a few £1 billion a year not to have a war and have a body that's actually looking after people in the absence of sensible people being in Parliament is a bargain. And now we're in this position where you've got major parties, you know, the Tory party and the Labour Party, the two biggies in the UK. Not that the Labour Party is really the Labour Party, it's still full of middle class and upper middle class people. It's not like the founder of the Labour Party envisaged, Keir Hardie, who actually put working class people in positions of power. So there's that. And, you know, they're not talking about this tax reform thing at all. Nobody is. You know, it's like us and 1 or 2 people on YouTube. That's the only references I've ever found, which is why I didn't find out about it in any detail till like last week. So that's kind of amazing. So at the end of this video, I'm going to grab the video that the EU have put out. It's just a 30-second video that explains it better than I can in 10 minutes about why they're doing it. So essentially, government services will have more money. We won't be in one of the reasons we're in austerity is because a lot of the wealthy people aren't paying tax. If you're a working class person and you don't pay tax when you should pay tax, you go to prison. There's no two ways about it. The government reacts very badly to poor individuals not paying tax. And along the other things, the whole Brexit debacle has actually slashed 24% value off the pound in the last 3 years, which is way more, assuming the pound doesn't recover particularly quickly, than just sending Europe money. You know, all the money we would have sent Europe has been, that we might have saved, has been gobbled up in the drop in the value of the pound. Which is interesting. I'm sure you'll agree. So, essentially, the super wealthy are doing pretty much anything they can to stop this tax law becoming law in the EU. And if they manage to drag Brexit past the 1st of January 2020, then that law will be in effect. France is already talking about a delay of at least a year, maybe 2, which will certainly be an eye-opener. It's actually made the whole Brexit thing a lot more interesting for me, in that we're playing this brinkmanship game and the government's desperately trying to crash out by October the 31st, which is 2 months before the law comes into action. So all they've got to do is set a delay past the 1st of January, and I think they want a reasonable chance at enacting as much of that as possible. So that's my Brexit thing. That's really interesting, and no one's talking about it. No media's talking about it at all, which is weird. But it does explain why suddenly a bunch of wealthy people were willing to do almost anything, including destroy the UK economy, in order to get out of Europe. So yes, because the UK has possibly some of the laxest tax laws in existence. So yeah, it's all very weird. So I'm going to stop talking about Brexit. There'll be a video. There's a number of things at the end of this episode. So also at the end of this episode, as well as the EU video, there'll be a video from Harlequin, which I haven't shown you yet. There'll be a video from, well, then there'll be a few photographs from one of our newer subscribers, my daughter, who is also doing urban-agoge and trying to go for a walk as often as possible. So that's cool. So that's phase 1 of this video. That's that done. Part 2 of the video, what we're doing now, is I kind of got to this point at about 20 weeks. So 5 months in, I've been doing most weeks a video a day, charting successes and failures and stuff like that. And I'm ready for, like, you know, just upping my game a bit. And that's where you, the viewer, come in. So I'm thinking I need to shoot better video. So I need some ideas for that. I want to expand on the remit of urban-agoge a bit. I want to do some cooking videos so you can understand it, some videos about prepping. Yeah. Got all sorts of things coming up. I've got some very interesting stuff coming up. You know, just making your house better, a bit more philosophy. I've been watching Marie Kondo, not because I want a beautiful house with throw cushions everywhere and minimalism, because I've got a lot of stuff, but how to organise that stuff has been starting to prove very useful. So I'm going to basically follow the Spark Joy thing and see whether that's useful, you know, whether that set of philosophy is useful. So that'll be an upcoming video, as will cooking and some prepping videos and stuff like that. Because being prepared for lots of different eventualities is pretty handy. You know, it's worth having some things in the event of an emergency, and those things are usually pretty cheap until they're suddenly not available. So yeah, that'll be cool. So there's lots of stuff. The river's pretty calm today. This is like Clint's Lucky Rock in LGR. Now Lucky River is saying this. Yeah, it's looking a lot calmer today. Let's go down and see if the riverbank's totally unscalable. So yeah, so I'm wanting to up my game seriously and produce more quality content. So now's the time. If you've got any ideas, if you're thinking, why doesn't he do this? Then yeah. So yeah, some of the cool things is like our diversity is being upped. It's not, the subscribers to Urban Agoge aren't all male, so that's cool. I probably need to do another trailer, but I picked up another subscriber. So hello new subscribers, if you're watching this, but you're probably not, because a lot of the subscribers are starting with episode 1. It's like, So it could be a while, because there's like 140 odd videos that I've shot for this over the last 5 months. So yes, it's all kinds of interesting. But you know, it's nice to have, as Chipko might put it, some purpose. I still need to build a bridge. It's cutting off a lot of my wandering space. So yeah. So there's lots and lots of stuff. And yeah, so I've been listing stuff for phase 2. I'm not entirely sure when phase 2 should begin, but I'm pretty sure that, as I was discussing with Harlequin the other night, that the army thing may not necessarily work, given, you know, who the bulk of people in Urban Agoge are. So I might need to work out something slightly new. Now I got to within 4 weeks of finishing the army thing, but it's kind of, it's a level of exercise that even at my increased level of physical fitness, I'm really loathing it. And that's not really the point. I mean, the idea is to make it part of your, part of how you go about stuff. You know, part of your week. So I've got an incredible amount of stuff to do in the next few weeks. And I've got to fit that around my work schedule. And then I've got friends visiting for the best part of that week. And then I'm back to work for very long days. So yes, so hopefully I will, the week after next, I will still be able to get out and make vids, or there will be some bonus vids, but you know, as you know, when you've got house guests, you can't like just take off and film stuff and leave them alone and not entertained or looked after. That's the point of being a host. So yes. And I also want to get back into doing some of the things that I was doing earlier in the Urban Agoge, but life kind of got in the way. So there are new and interesting stories coming around about. So yeah. So I don't know. There's lots of things, a lot of things are up in the air, but I am sort of aware that, you know, a phase 2 where the exercise is still there, but it's not as an important a part, because I'm aware that those exercise videos are boring and I was doing them for the purpose of vlogging. So, and I want the videos to be a lot more interesting than that. I think the vlog format, getting out for a walk, that's great for me. It's encouraging to people when they see that somebody else is doing it and they're getting out and doing stuff and sharing that via the community and the other subscribers. So if you do end up videoing something interesting while you're out on your walk, you definitely should send it. So there's at least 3 or 4 other people that are interested in contributing video to these episodes, which is fantastic. And that will get your name on the credits sequence all by itself. I'm sort of going to have to redesign that soon, because I've now run out of space where I can legibly put stuff on the credits, because so many people have helped out. Not just with this, but also with Rangers. And Rangers 2 needs an update, so if you're not a subscriber to Rangers Tube, it's R4NGER5TUBE. I'll put a link to the homepage of Rangers, if you like, below this. You know, you can go and check out the other stuff that we've done historically, and I want to produce some more videos for that, because that particular channel has got, you know, about 8 times more subscribers than this one. But I think there's certainly a huge amount of cross-pollination, and I'm glad it's on a separate channel, because this channel's kind of picked up its own hardcore audience, and people are starting to watch it. So yeah. So yes, I might edit the details on the first video that points them in the direction, because I'm getting quite a lot of hits on the first video. I've had like about 70 or 80 views on video number 1, and I get about 5 views. You know, I need more throughput, and I guess it's because, you know, that first video is kind of there as and it's not very interesting, although I'm saying some interesting stuff. The actual video style isn't very interesting, certainly not like I've got here. So yeah, people of the Agoge, we need your help. So yeah, that's about all I gotta say. So yeah, Brexit suddenly got all sorts of interesting, you know, and it feels more like a conspiracy than ever before, because no one will talk about it, despite the fact that Parliament's also been forced to give over documents to the members of Parliament, so they can scrutinise the government planning. And even the pro-Brexit bods are aware that it will be an absolute disaster if we crash out with no decent deal, and we can't get a decent deal without reigniting the civil war in Northern Ireland, or, well, that's the only way we can do it. So we start a war in order to save wealthy people money. So aside from all the people that might die if we do crash out because we can't get hold of short-lived medicines or isotopes for MRIs and stuff like that, it's crazy. So they're prepared to kill people in order to stay rich. So if that wasn't, that's why I'm talking about Brexit on Urban Agoge, you know, the idea that we need heroes. Those heroes need to be in good mental and physical shape and have reasonable skills. This is why. Corporations will totally do it to us. They're prepared. They have concept of acceptable losses. And that's what happens when you're distanced enough from the people who you claim to represent, as laid out in the book Leaders Eat Last. And I can't remember the name of the guy that read it, or that wrote it rather. That's a very good book. So I don't know. What do you reckon? Do we sort of say, okay, we need to move to phase 2 with Urban Agoge, where we sort of like go, right, personally we're better off, we're doing all the good psychological stuff, we're going out for a walk, stroke run, stroke exercise a lot more often. You know, ideally everybody that watches this is eating slightly better, you know, with a very simple rule set, you know, eat less crap, as in carbonated drinks, refined sugar, refined sugar, artificial sweeteners, don't do that, and processed food, CRAP, and eat more food, fruits and vegetables, organic, lean protein, omega oils, and drinking more water. So I'm certainly drinking a lot more water, which is great. I'm doing all those things. I'm going out for a chunk of exercise as often as possible, and that's leading me to a place where I'm edging towards a more ideal weight. It's a side benefit of just feeling a lot better and being a bit more positive and optimistic, which is really working out. Stuff really does come your way when you're more positive and can do and more optimistic, and you see opportunities more. So yes. So it's all very interesting. So yes. So ideas. I've got some ideas, and I think phase 2 probably needs to be done. I'm going to continue with the week numbering things, just so that, although I think I'm going to start phase 2 on Monday, because I've got a whole day off and I've still got things to do, but I can do a more interesting phase 2 video. And yeah, start off with, this is I think phase 1 is more your mind and body, and phase 2 is going to lean more towards the environment that you park it in, so your home. Maybe phase 3 could be activism or making a positive impact on the world. I don't know. Maybe we can find some things. I certainly know that one of the subscribers, Chipco, is very into that idea. So up and expand out, I guess. It's let's see what comes about as a result of that. But I think that's these are all positive things. I don't want, I know Brexit seems very negative, but there could be some positives that as yet we're not aware that are going to come out of that. And yeah, in the next few months we shall probably have some even more interesting stories. But the new podcast that Remby and I are doing, the Guillotine Assurance Society, or GAS, I think there's going to be a few more episodes of that on Rangers Tube, so that's probably worth looking out for. At the very least, I think it was a very positive, interesting experience to record that. And yeah, we may push on forward, maybe shining some light on things that people weren't necessarily aware of, and being more disciplined on providing you links for external reading. So yeah, it has the potential to be extremely interesting over the next few months. So I thought I'd update you with that. Move on to phase 2. Although I'm not sure. I wish I'd thought of this 5 months ago, and then you could watch chunks of it. Or season 2. So first season, like 150 episodes. Second season, probably about the same. I want to get back into vlogging every day, and maybe including some useful bits. So yeah, all sorts of things to come, and with that, that's where I'm going to leave it today. So thank you for watching, and do take care.
Turn the camera on and then fall over. Good morning, everyone. I have no idea what day or week it is. My beard is growing back in. So to a quick update. Still working far too hard, on far too many hours a week. Still trying to get packed to move. Still haven't got a house to move into, which is a pain. Come on. Dog's gone a bit mad because she's actually in heat. That's entertaining. But she doesn't know what to do with herself. Why is it always dog is in heat when you're halfway through moving house? work that one out. Yeah, so working an average of 6 days a week. Weather's gotten a lot better. It's very windy today, but otherwise the weather's picked up tremendously around here. Really come into spring. Excuse son. New phone. Hopefully picture quality's better. Old phone completely died after resetting it 2 or 3 times. So I went and tried to find something that was a bit more useful for doing this stuff, but also a bit more useful in terms of having cases and being a useful phone. Not much else happening. Yeah, same old around Yak and Dander. Bush all looks the same. Running still happening. Not as many extra ones as I'd like, but running still happening. Just trying to get things uploaded is difficult, to say the least. Yeah, not sure what else I've got to tell you really. Need to get back on track with eating better again, because the work's happened 6 days a week. It's almost always involved in the night shift. Most of the days it's been involved in the day shift as well, which means that you don't get a lot of time apart from eating stuff left over from work. There's not a great deal of choice at work regarding what you can eat, even if you have all the stuff in the kitchen. I did make some tasty quesadillas about 3 weeks ago at work, but that's about the only thing of note. Yeah, and it's just getting busy at work. Well, not busy every night, but irregularly busy, which has been a great unknown. You know, we had our busiest Sunday night. I was on call because one of the other staff was sick, so I got called up after coming to work. And instead of doing our normal maybe 20 meals on Sunday night, we did something like 110, which is pretty well unheard of for a Sunday night in a strange little village, northeast Victoria. Yeah, it's wife and dog's a bit mad. New camera. What else happened? Got my small person a new laptop. It's not new. Got my small person a recycled laptop, and I got her a T430 for the slightly bigger screen for playing Minecraft on and learning how to do things and playing stuff. And so far she seems to have got on with it really well. Pepper, come. But yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, T430's working out well for it. It needs a bit more RAM in it. It only came with 4 gigs RAM, which is a bit underpowered for the likes of the future. But I've ordered 16 gigs to replace it, and we'll go from there. Yeah, it's funny how she gets a new laptop before I do. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm still running on my very old recycled one that's broken, and I got it because it had coffee spilt on it and the keyboard didn't work, and the monitor connector was dodgy as, which has now started overheating again, which is a slight problem. So I'll have to see if I can renew the CPU's thermal paste on it and see if that fixes it. But it does not want to play ball at the moment. Anyways, that's been me. Too much work and not enough fun. Still trying to move. Yeah, and that's about it. So I'll leave you on my beautiful walk. And I hope you're all well. Yeah, go and have a run and enjoy the sunshine if it's sunny where you are. I'm very pink in this camera. Bye.